on ESPN 97.5, presented by the Daspit Law Firm. Final segment of the night tonight. We remind you, Nico's Greek and American Cafe, 3 locations, Montrose, up in the Woodlands, the newest location, and Beltway 8 and I-10 for the best in Greek food. Joining us now, the head coach of the Houston Dynamo, he is Ben Olsen. Ben, thanks for coming on the show to kick it off here in 2025.
Great to see you.
Yeah, nice seeing you and nice hearing your voice. Shorter or long off season for you?
Yeah. It was long. But it went fast. Does that make sense? It was long enough to recharge, and I think that's a really important thing. Whether it's a couple of weeks, whether last year, the previous year where we didn't have a lot of time, or last year where we had a little bit more. It's just important to recharge. And I think both mentally, physically for the players, mentally for the staff, and long enough to get inspired and make sure the energy's high, because it's a long season. And again, I got away with the family. I explored Texas. I got down to see Big Ben, Marfa, and we spent 50 hours in the car together as a family. So I got plenty of family time. And it was a really good trip, and a wild state, man. A wild state you got here, and it was a lot of fun exploring it.
Gets awful quiet out there, doesn't it? It's pretty amazing.
It does. Oil country and the windmills. It's a neat state.
It's beautiful. All right, so let's get into some stuff here. First off, how about the health of Quinones and Lawrence Anali? Where are they?
They're both moving in the right direction. The Quinones, from the initial injury, it's been stalled at certain periods. It hasn't been the easiest recovery for him, but we feel he's on the other end of that. He's in trainings right now, but kind of with that quarterback bib where nobody can hit him. And that's a great sign. I've been through rehab enough. When you're back on that field, even though you're not full in, it's just a much more exciting time. And I think he's in a good place to help us maybe a month from now, give or see how this goes. Anali's on target. His rehab is going very well, but his injury was later than Quinones's, so we just have to wait. That you have to give it the time to heal. You have to give it the time to get strong. So we anticipate him being a very good summer signing again. So we're just gonna redo that.
Ben Olsen joining us, head coach of the Houston Dynamo. They're heading to Tampa, Florida. They'll get some MLS competition. Back to Nelson and Lawrence. Are they a big part of maybe the solution for your attack now, based on the fact that Coco and Hector Herrera?
No, I think that's simplifying it. I think, yes, of course, profiles will change how you score goals. But really, we've spent a lot of time over even the last couple months of the year really dissecting how to score goals or put ourselves in better positions to finish out attacks. We spent a lot of time in the off season, and we've spent a good portion of the 2.5 weeks already on finishing out attacks. So yes, of course, there's individual brilliance, there's service, there's the right weight, there's all these things we talked about last year that let us down. But then there's also systematic ways to put ourselves in positions where we make our own luck, where it just becomes a numbers game, where we have more box occupation, and that leads to scoring goals, and then that leads to confidence, and it can spiral in that type of direction. So we're addressing it both on the field. We're also addressing it with some of the profiles that we're going to bring in, and I know you'll ask me that soon enough about what's coming. Those guys have to be providers. They have to be able to finish out attacks for us, because if we're able to continue with being a good defensive team, a team that is cohesive and can still be one of the better teams defensively in this league, and we can continue to have the ball and put ourselves in the attacking third as much as we did last year, there's one piece that's missing to make us a very good team. But we have to do that in a collective way. We have to coach them up, and we need better profiles in there.
Ben, back to the box occupation. through my lens, it seems, and I could be wrong, Ezekiel Ponce plays a lot of the game with his back to goal. How do you get him facing the game a little bit more and facing the goal?
Yeah, he's got to stay patient, I think, at times, but some of that is frustration of not putting him in situations where he can have joy when he's running at the goal, and that means when we do get wide, we're in better situations for 3v2s or 2v1s to get ourselves in crossing opportunities for him to have easier goals than he had last year. But he has to fight some of that and make sure that he's at times more patient and not coming into the midfield when we don't necessarily need him. We have the right numbers in there. He was only here for a few months, and he scored a goal every other game. I think his integration into the team, it was pretty quick for a foreign player coming into a league. And I was really happy with his performance. And defensively, as I talked about with Ponce, I still think he's one of the best pressing forwards in the league. And it's our job collectively, because we know he can score, to make sure he's scoring every other game.
Ben Olsen, Houston Dynamo head coach, joining us here. We start the season with a big bang. You got FC Dallas coming in with former Houston area product Eric Quill coaching that team. And then it's the big one everybody's buzzing about. It's Lionel Messi and Inter Miami in game number 2. Just back to that signing, and we've had Pat on the show, and obviously this is going to be a big signing. Do you sense there's a pressure to make a big signing? Is it got to be a guy that essentially we look at and say is your best attacking player? And then the third part of this 3-part question is, do you have to get that done before April 1st?
I know your second and third question. What was the first question?
The first one is this a guy that has to lift the entire team next level?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Listen, anytime you're looking for a 10, anytime you're looking for an attacking piece who is going to be a designated player, yeah, he has to be one of your best attacking pieces on the team. He's got to have goals. He's got to have assists in him. It's a must. So is there pressure along with that? Of course. This is no different than last year when everybody was saying, you don't have a forward, you don't have a forward, you don't have a forward, right? That was the narrative last year, and we got a forward, and he helped us. So this is every year. You're going to lose players. You need to replace them. You need to make sure your scouting department, we're proactive and we're ready for Coco to leave. We understood Hector was potentially going to leave. So, and then even when you do all that right, you still go down a lane with someone you like, and it doesn't work out. Whether it's the finances, whether he doesn't want to come, whether his wife doesn't want to come. There are so many scenarios in, again, it's not a perfect science. It always just doesn't work out. And sometimes when you can't overspend and go, just keep throwing money at it to get these players, sometimes it's about threading the needle. So we got to be patient, and we understand what we need very clearly. We've talked about it. I'm sure Pat's talked about it as well. Coco's gone. We need a replacement in there. Hector's gone. We need a replacement. Those are 2 damn good players. And those players may not look and play just like Hector and Coco. They're very unique players. And some of them, we may lose a little bit with those signings, and we may gain in some other areas that maybe Hector and Coco don't possess. So that's what we constantly are talking about. What are the attributes? What's the profile of those players to now continue with all the good that they brought us, but also can we now get a little bit more in the attacking third? Maybe it's more running off the ball. Maybe it's more box occupation. Maybe it's more service. Maybe it's set piece ability. So all these things come into play when we're talking about filling these voids. And those aren't the only 2 that we're trying to place. We're still adding depth in a few different areas. So I anticipate 3 to 6 signings coming, and then to your last question, I think is when and what's the urgency? The urgency is yesterday, every day. It's now as quick as we can get these players in, the better. but we always say, right, it has to be the right ones. And at times when you do need players, you can make mistakes and you can push the gas and maybe get someone that's not perfect for you. And then sometimes you have to do that, or sometimes you have to wait for the guy that you want. The winter transfer market is tricky, and I know you know that.
Ben Olsen, Houston Dynamo head coach. So back to that positional thing and the type of player that could be brought in. Let's say it's a player that was in Coco's position that might be more natural to it. It could be a big upgrade. What type of player do you want there? Do you want a guy that's going to beat somebody off the dribble? What are some of the characteristics that you're looking for in that Coco higher position?
Well, I think a player that can join the box from those positions and give us more threat, more of a vertical threat in behind, service, being a guy that can provide, whether it's slipping balls into Ponce, whether it's from the edge, some service to the back stick with some real fire. Does he have set piece ability? Can he enhance us in our service, both on corner kicks, but also in and around the box? Is this a player that can get 3 to 4 goals or in and around the 18 when Kowalczyk and Bassi are getting fouled in these areas? So there's a lot to it, but he also has to be comfortable in the pocket. And we're still play with kind of that 3-box midfield, and he's also got to be able to be on the half turn and drive and add +1s, and complement kind of Griffin on that side. So we're looking at a lot of it, and you're not going to check all those boxes, Clem, right? I want 10 different things out of that guy, but I need $30 million to get that guy, right? When you go down into where you're spending, you're only going to check so many of those boxes. Some of those are imperative. Some of those we have to check, and then again, there's some that we will give to get the other thing, because you don't get it all.
Andrew Tarbell, number one, it's been made pretty clear. Does that change your build out of the back a little bit differently? Do you become a little more direct, or?
At times, and I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. His range of passing is, it's, to boil it down, he can kick farther than Steve. But guess what Steve can do? Steve is better with his feet in tighter spaces, right? Again,
you might lose him to the NFL if you keep talking like that.
That's right. So that part, yes, we now have a forward that is a real presence and can deal with some more vertical 60-yard balls and make a meal of it, make it tough on those defenders. And we have guys that are willing to pick up seconds. We have guys that are willing to run off. Again, that's not a knock for Steve. Steve helped our possession. He was unbelievable. Steve was unbelievable for us for 2 years. But yes, profiles that now are starting that are a little bit different. Yes, we as coaches have to understand that, and we can't change him into something that he's not. So of course, we're still going to want to play. We're still going to ask Andrew to build out of the back, but we're not going to ask him to do some of the things that Steve did. It just doesn't make sense. We want Andrew to succeed, so we're going to set him up for success, but we also want to challenge him to still let us build in a way that is similar to last year.
And I would assume that means discussing with the likes of Eric Sviatchenko, Mikhail, your outside backs. Hey, you guys have to play a little bit differently with Andrew Tarbell.
I think you're making maybe a little bit more of the differences between the two. We won't. I don't think we'll ask that much more of or less of the structure around Andrew when he receives the ball, or what we do in goal kicks. Other than that, some of the improv nature that Steve had, we'll try to, I think, make it a little cleaner. And that was one of Steve's strengths. He could really smell these +1 numbers in there, and he's super calm on the ball. And Andrew, again, we got to make it very clean on him, but we did that last year. And the one thing Steve had was, experience and feel of playing out of the back, and he was a little riskier.
Last one, and we're going to let you go, Ben, and we'll make this one quick. Exxon Arzu, Ofemi Owadesu, Sebastian Rodriguez, first team contracts, obviously Brooklyn Reigns. I get the sense you're expecting something out of this young crop this year.
Well, the one positive of not bringing in signings right now is we're getting real looks at these guys. You know, Brooklyn's right now in the starting spot, and Exxon, Ibrahim went to deal with some citizenship things, and so now Exxon's in with that starting group with trainings, and Femi's getting some reps with the first team. So they're filling this void right now, and it's a great opportunity for them and us as a staff to see what they look like, and that'll be continue into Florida, where they're going to see real minutes against first team opponent or MLS opponents, and we're going to get a good feel for how they're progressing and what they need from us to make them better. And I've been clear about Brooklyn and making he's took a step up there in the last couple months that I haven't seen since we've been here, and we anticipate him playing a big role in this year's team, and we look forward to seeing him grow. Sometimes it's impatient with young kids. To me, it shows itself. When they're ready, and you can speed it up as much as possible. But sometimes it's about doing that and not rushing it. And when the player's ready, that's the time. And we feel like he's right on that cusp of fighting for a spot in the starting lineup each week now.
Ben, listen, thank you very much. Safe travels down to Tampa as you guys continue your preseason. And thank you for coming on. First time here in 2025. We love it.
Great seeing you. Great seeing you.
All right. That's Ben Olsen, head coach of the Houston Dynamo.